Hello, welcome to the ComX Aussie Indie Comic Review. This is where we look at the current and classic Aussie indie titles, whether it be a standard one-shot, part of a series, or a graphic novel. I'm Danny. Hi, Max. How you going?
Hey, Danny. How are you?
Oh, I'm not bad. I'm a bit excited about the book we're doing tonight because
Yeah,
I think it's quite good.
it is. I'm right with you there.
Yeah, we're doing two issues of this comic because there is a third coming out, but it's called The Mycelium Complex by Daniel Reed, and it may come up on the screen now. No, maybe Shane. There we go. The Mycelium Complex. It was a Kickstarter back in 2020, and
This
so
is very
far
confusing. It's like there you go.
yeah. There. Oh, I'm getting used to this because I have a mirror. Yes. Come out in 2020. It was a Kickstarter, a very successful Kickstarter, and since then there's issue 2's come out, and issue 3 is on its way. And that's a shame because I wish this was a graphic novel because I really enjoy it because it's such a it says complex in the title, but I think it's quite a complex little story. Definitely for the elder, it's got adult themes, so not for the kids because they just wouldn't understand it. But before I start, I'm just going to butt in. Now, people might say, "Well, what's a mycelium?" Mycelium
Is a fun guy, I
it's
believe.
it's a root-like substance. It's a structure of fungi that has a massive branching out tentacles. And it can go for
Tendrils. Yeah.
tendrils, hundreds of meters in some cases in the warm places like Brazil and that and it has its own life, and that is a good way to describe what's happening in the comic because it's the mycelium complex is these tendrils that after an accident or some kind of event,
Yes.
which they call the wrath of God, which I know I won't give that part away
Yeah,
because
before we delve into it, perhaps we should just outline a bit of exposition.
okay, yeah. You do. I keep doing that because I get excited about the
Yeah, you dive right into the middle.
yeah.
That no one has a framework of reference, but
Because this story is not a linear. It bounces backwards and forwards between
yes.
two
Okay,
timelines.
yes. Okay,
Yes.
let's start there. I mean, it won't be a spoiler to say that the opening pages of the book finds you in a dystopic society,
Yep.
or we're in a sort of subterranean environment
Oh no!
where.
If you look closely, it's a gym.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's one of those fitness complexes. That's the
yeah,
way.
yeah. Well, it looked well. It definitely looked bleak and submerged. Whatever the case, but the protagonist Gary,
Mhm.
wearing a red bomber jacket, not unlike say Marty McFly in the Back to the Future franchise. He is communicating with a team of scientists
Yes, definitely scientists. It's come
yes,
across as that.
yes. And it soon becomes apparent that they are surrounded or have been infiltrated by chainsaw wielding zombies. Is that fair to say?
But they
Or
have an identity. They're all part of a gang, like the Mower Men, which
yeah,
uh,
the mowers. Yeah.
yeah, and they've all got whippersnippers and chainsaws, and they seem to have they do have that appearance of zombies because they just seem to.
Mindless killing machines,
Mm,
and Gary is running for his life. That's how that's how the story begins. You find yourself smack bang in the middle of this predicament,
And you're
and
thinking they're
yes,
looking for something. That's the only hint we get. They're in this place looking for something.
yes, or trying to learn something. That's more what I glean from it. They're trying to make some kind of discovery that would somehow change their the state of being. And as when that particular inciting incident is over, we're immediately thrust into another story. You almost get whiplash.
Well, this is where there's some parallels. You mentioned Barty McFly before, and so does the comic. In
Yes,
another section, they seem to be
not an accident. Yes,
30 or 40 years apart.
yes.
The timelines. The first one starts 30 years in the future. The next one is present day, and then we've got another one.
In the next issue, it's in the 80s. But
Yeah,
yes,
but we're thrust into we meet Pat, one of the most evil antagonists you've ever met.
despicable. Yes, yeah.
This is what happens when bullies don't have any kind of boundaries. He is just
Or
the most
any
unpleasant
ability to
person.
process, really. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But before we get too ahead, well, we in this in this second story, which runs adjacent to the story that we just described, we are introduced to Pat and the I guess you could say it's dystopic, but not equally dystopic environment of a housing commission and lower to middle class families uh, just having some kind of barbecue or pool
Just
party.
family get together. Yeah, it was just a summer event. Yeah, and
Yes, and the reason I call it dystopic is because of the presence of Pat, who is both emotionally and verbally abusive, easily triggered, easily jealous, and you
easily
can
making excuses for himself too. He's just
yes,
a totally unpleasant person.
yes, he uses his horrible upbringing as a crutch
Mm,
for to justify his odious behavior. And yeah, he's a thoroughly unpleasant person, as we with virtually no redeeming features so far, anyway.
mm.
And as we get to know this person, we're also getting to know this future dystopia of which he may be somewhat responsible for
Mm.
as the story progresses. And yeah, those are that's the premise of the first issue of the Mycelium complex.
Yes, and then as we get into the second issue, that's when it becomes more clearer what happened with the first part of the first comic. For some reason, an event
A
happens
rift is opened. Yes. Yeah.
because of something that Pat does, Patrick or whatever. I think he changes from Patrick to Pat.
Mhm.
He does something, and all of a sudden a rift is open, and these amazing the sky
Like
turns dark and it turns apocalyptic.
yes.
And that's where number two starts off. They actually look at video recordings on their laptops in the labs about what the hell happened.
Yes.
And
It's
a lot of people see it as it is called the wrath of God, and a lot of people take that literally.
well, it is defined by monsters being released and thrust into the environment, and people losing their minds and so on.
Yeah, and they're basically forced underground, but we still don't know why these Moa men are, but that has another. Uh,
I still think they're
really
zombies.
evident.
I think they're zombified to some extent.
Would we notice it? But Pat Pat had a fight with the Mower Man, the guy who had the franchise. He was a franchisee of the Mower Men. That was that Benny.
Yeah.
He had
A Messiah.
Jesus-like appearance, and he had that kind of now.
Yeah, a perceived Messiah of sorts. But anyway, yeah, Danny, how did you like it?
Well, I liked it because I actually sat next to Daniel Reed at a con recently, and I got to know him and some of the background of him writing it. And I grew up in the 1980s, which is where this comic goes to. And I also grew up in a housing commission area, and he has just captured some things there when he goes back to the 80s beautifully. And
can I just say, yeah,
nostalgic thing.
Yeah,
really hits home with me.
Yeah. Well, yes. Of the comics that we've reviewed so far, this is the first one. Correct me if I'm wrong. That has attempted to visually tackle something specifically Australian, and you get to see it not just in the architecture of the housing commissions, but in the
products from the era.
Yes,
as well. There's a
nurses' uniforms and everything about it. It screams specifically Australian.
Yeah, even the social cult things that were happening at the time, like he goes back in the 80s, and like roller skating was huge back then. You're lucky to find one now, but there's a section where he runs through a lady and knocks over her a shopping trolley, and the products that spill out. It was just like, oh my god, I forgot that even existed. He's just done that so well, and
yes.
And you don't need any prompting or any little caption saying, meanwhile in 1980 you know exactly where you are, because
that's
the cars
right.
and all that. Yes, he's
that level of detail just elevates it above world building. That sort of erudition just shows such a love for story and environment.
Yeah, and with the second one, what's the second comic we're on now, that gives a good explanation of what's happened, because it doesn't treat its readers as idiots. You really you have to invest in this story, and it pays off.
We will. In all fairness, we don't know yet. I mean,
well,
so far I'm enjoying the journey, definitely. But how long's it been since issue 2? And
it's been 2 years. Well, remember how last week I said, I hate these Kickstarters, where you have a single issue and then you got to wait for another one. This is the class. I would have loved this to be a trade, a 4-part trade. I would be a happy man, because I would say it is a great read. But so far, I'm really invested in these two, and now I've just got to wait for the next one to come along. And if we're in America, we probably have to wait a month, because it's Australia, and we don't have that huge population or demand for that. I'm probably going to have to wait for 2004 before I see what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
And that is so heartbreaking, because this book really sucked me in. I liked it. I'm not going to say it's the best thing I ever read, because that'd be bullshit. It's a very interesting read, and it's going in an interesting direction that has totally hooked me.
Very engrossing story. Absolutely. Yes. Very engrossing story. Very vivid environment. The quote unquote villain is thoroughly dislikable, and the protagonists, you're definitely rooting for them. You don't want them to get butchered or chopped up by the so-called mowers, which are zombies.
On the other side, the protagonist, you want him to die. He's such unlikable character.
Yes.
There was this reminds me. There's the movie Baby Driver.
I've seen it. Yes, very good. Edgar Wright. Yeah.
Edgar Wright film.
Edited by an Australian as well. Yeah.
For such a great driver, I've never seen a guy get caught by the police wherever he goes. But Jamie Foxx plays a character in that movie, and I reckon it's his best role because I've never hated a character as much as the guy
Yes.
that he plays in that. I thought, he, I thought you automatically, I hate that. That's horrible. That's horrible acting. No, it wasn't. It was brilliant acting because
Needless aggression. Yeah, yeah. I
he was
should. Yeah.
just an evil person, and he played it so well, and it was crazy.
Well, I should introduce you to other films like Nil by Mouth and with Ray Winstone's character, or Raging Bull with Robert De Niro playing a thoroughly handsy Jake LaMotta.
Oh, well, I saw that about 40 years ago. I couldn't even remember it now because that was the big thing that came out at the same time as the Elephant Man. I can remember everything about
Yes.
that because they're both in black and white. Yeah, no, but the Jamie Foxx character comes straight to mind when reading this the Patrick character. He there's a part where he can we say that he is instrumental. There are fixed points in time that apparently
Yeah.
can change things, and Patrick's is one of those points.
Yes, I do believe I said earlier that he may or may not have been responsible for the dystopic void which we are introduced to at the beginning of the comic book.
And in one point he goes to his home because he doesn't realize he's gone back in time, basically just before his birth, and this guy comes in through. He gets into his house because he knows where the key's kept, and then he's walking around, and then this guy comes through the window, obviously because it's his father, and because he's coming through the window because the key's missing from under the mat, and so Pat beats the crap out of him because he thinks he's breaking into his house without a reason why. He goes, "There's no way known you can be my dad because my dad, when I grew up, he just had a real mangled up face." And Pat's
There
the
you
one.
go.
Yeah, and little clever things like that,
Self-fulfilling prophecy,
well,
self-fulfilling.
yeah, we have these little loops happening.
Mhm.
Yeah, so
Yeah, very clever. Yeah, definitely not an accident.
no, and then we do see what these tendrils do, and it's weird, a bit
Yeah,
Lovecraft.
there are pages of scientific exposition. I'm sure they'll pay off later. But
Well, there is a part with Leslie. We don't see her. We only hear that
Evelyn, you mean?
Oh, Evelyn. Yeah, Leslie's
Yes.
the one who's going crazy. But Evelyn, she's a scientist who's discovered something, and she's done something to herself so that
Yes.
people can change it. And from what I can gather, I reckon
She's
the
just
third issue will probably do that. It sounds like she's done something. She made a great sacrifice.
yeah. Well, she's still there. She's a disembodied voice, but yeah,
Yes.
that's one of the things that keeps us going.
So, but yeah, on that point, I'll just talk a bit about Daniel. Daniel
Oh, please,
Reed
yes.
is a Melbourne writer and artist who is a double ledger winner, two-time ledger winner, dating back to the very first ledgers back in the early 2000s or mid 2000s. He's also drawn with Isabella Commodi, a quite popular Australian author, and he has written, produced, and done the Mycelium complex all by himself. Even produced it. So I think he's not in the ComX Shop, even though he's on the ComX artist register. But I think you can buy this at, I've got here, danielreed.bigcartel.com. So
We'll put that down in the description.
yes, we will, and then that'll make it easier if you want to get this. And I do believe that the third issue is nearing completion. So
Is that active on Kickstarter at the moment?
no, but he is. If you go to Daniel Reed or Dan Nautilus, because his publishing company's called Nautilus.
That's
Dan
another link
underscore
in the description. Yeah.
we put that in the description too. Dan_Nautilus on his Instagram page, and I think that's where he keeps most people up to date with what he's doing through Instagram. So, I strongly recommend you have a read of this, and then just follow him so you can keep going with the ongoing story. Because
stories, I absolutely loved it. Yeah.
So on that note, I think that's about it for today. We've done. This is like Neverlanders, isn't it? We both really love this one and can't stop talking about it. But
it's happened a few times already. There's a lot of talent in this pool. Yeah.
Yes, we do. All right. On that note, all I can say, is there anything else you've got to say, Max?
No. Well, just let's light a fire under issue 3 so that we can read it post haste.
Please do. And if you get a chance, go to Daniel's Big Cartel site and I think it's also got links to his what did I say? Instagram and other pages, and you'll keep up to date with what he's doing. All right. Until next time, you have a wonderful time. Thank you, Max.
Can't wait for the next one.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Like, share, and subscribe. Thank you very much.